Hey everyone, Retire on Dividends here. So Roundhill came out with a new fund the other day. This is a Target 20 fund. So long story short, they're going to pay you a 20% distribution on this fund, on whatever money you invest in and whatever your capital is at the very moment. The fund is called XPAY, not X-Pac, the wrestler. XPAY, S&P 500, Target 20 Managed Distribution ETF. So right off the bat, the first sentence, it says, stay invested in equity markets with XPAY, the Roundhill S&P 500 Target 20 Managed Distribution ETF seeks to provide exposure to the return of the S&P 500 index while offering tax-efficient monthly distribution. So basically, they're going to mimic or try to mimic the S&P 500 and pay you 20% yield. Here is the fact sheet. I always like fact sheets because they're much easier to look at. So if you hate reading like me, then go to the fact sheet on any of these ETFs. Their expense ratio is 0.49%. I'll show you in a sec why I think that's a little ridiculous. But outstanding shares, well, I guess I'm not going to go through that because that changes. So what's important is, the why. It says why invest in XPay to the left. So it says it seeks to offer consistent, predictable monthly distributions, 20% annualized yield. XPay seeks to target 100% return of capital. And I'll show you how that kind of works in a second as well. And then total return potential, XPay seeks to match the total return of the S&P 500. Of course, it'll do that minus the whatever distributions they're paying you. All right, here's some hypothetical. Yeah, the rest of it is just useless stuff. So anyway, let's get to the overview. What else? What else they're gonna tell us? Anything useful? No, not really. Why XPay? Yeah, we know 20% return of capital. That's basically the story, right? Nothing more to talk about. But the key thing for this fund for me is the expense ratio, 0.49%. Now you may look at that and say, oh my God, that's such a bargain. Yield Max charges 0.99%, right? Roundhill and the other funds, they charge 0.99%. But okay, that's great. But let's see what they're doing on this fund, right? By the way, this fund did launch on Halloween, October 31st, 2024. All right, but let's take a look at the holdings. This is the important part. So how are they making us money? What they're doing is they're buying a call on the S&P 500, on SPY, on SPLG. Okay, that's it. They buy a long call, 11/21/25 expiration, and it sits there. Okay, and they don't buy. They don't put all the money into the the S&P. They do have a percentage that does go to treasuries or government bonds here. You could see that do expire 12/1/31, obviously earning interest on the side as well. But the important piece to read here, and we'll look at the prospectus in a second, but this is the fund. This is it. They buy calls on the S&P 500, and they pay you 20% distribution on whatever your capital is, right? Whatever the market value of whatever you have in the fund is. They don't do anything further. They buy this long call. Again, this expires November 21st, 2025. What is today? Today is November 11th as we speak. So all things equal, this fund just sits there. The hardest part for them is paying you a 20% distribution, which is an administrative cost, which, those are the office people that don't make as much as the fund managers. There's not much fund managing here. There's buying calls. As new money comes in, they buy a new call, right? Or they add to the current position. And that's it. I do not think they are earning 0.49% for buying a freaking call, right? Just think about this, right? If they were just holding the S&P 500 and paying you a 20% distribution, would they charge you 0.49%? No. But they're saying basically, since it's an options ETF, although they're only buying a call, and they are able to distribute money to you, right, as return of capital, that alone is worth 0.49%. Okay? That's kind of what I'm gathering from what I'm reading. And to me, that is freaking ridiculous, right? I think it's a smart idea to offer this. I do. I really do. Because for the people that don't want to do anything, right? They don't want to learn. They just want to get 20%. Right? They have retirement. They have $100,000. They just pay me 20% and just leave me alone. And those are the type of people this is worth. However, to charge them 0.49%, I think is unfair. I know I don't bitch about the 0.99%, but look at Roundhill's other funds, 0.99%. They're doing daily freaking trades. 0-day expiration on the index. Who the hell can do that? Not me. That's why they deserve it. This long call, this expires in over a freaking year. So if no new money goes into the fund, they don't do anything. Again, the administrative costs of the distribution, but what else are they doing? Please tell me. Please tell me how they earn 0.49% on this freaking fund. I mean, I got to get into the ETF business. Seriously. All right, anyway, let me go back. So that was the holdings. What else they got going on here? Scroll through. No distributions yet. Here's the next distribution, though. They will declare on the first one. On December 10th, the X date will follow, and then the pay date will follow that. Okay, that's great. Distribution history. Oh, no, wait. I'm sorry. What the hell? Something. Well, they did declare, okay, so I'm correcting myself now. They did declare they launched on October 31st and they declared on November 5th. Okay, whatever. And they paid on November 7th, okay. And then it was 97 cents, okay. That's fine. But it's showing declaration December 10th, 97 cents. Is that a mistake, or are they already? I mean, they can't declare if it's not declaration date, so that's probably a typo. I don't think that should be there. Great start, guys. Great start. There's the prospectus. I have that in another tab. I'll pull that up in a second. All right, so here's some Q&A. These I always like when they have this. It's pretty cool. It's answering some of the stuff we know when they launched. The expense ratio, which is a freaking ripoff. Can I trade options? No. Okay. It's a new fund. Maybe eventually. What is return of capital? Yeah, whatever. Okay. All right, so that's it. That's the fund. So now I have, I'm going to cover their prospectus, and then I'm going to go through some data on the S&P 500. So stay tuned. Let's get moving. I'll try to make this as not as painful as you would imagine, because again, this is 33 pages? Yeah, 33-page document. So obviously, again, Roundhill Fund, target 20, great. All right, this prospectus is dated October 30th. Okay, that's fine because they launched the 31st. Objective right away. Okay, they're paying 20%. Pretty simple. 20%, that's what they're going to pay you. Management fee is 0.49%. Look at that. The distribution and service is 0. That's all they do. Distribution, management fees. Buy a call, you get 0.49% for buying a freaking call. Okay, must be nice. All right, so anyway, let's continue. This fund seeks to provide exposure return to the S&P 500 while making monthly distribution payments equal to an annualized rate of 20%. SPY, they use the SPY, we know that. The fund will invest at least 80% of its net assets, blah, 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 in SPY flex options. So it'll do, I guess the reason, and Jay always mentions this, that they can't buy the S&P and pay you 20% is because they can't have a holding. I forget the percentage, but they can't have one individual holding up to a certain percentage. Like there's rules with that. So obviously they're able to buy a call with 80% though, because it's not an actual holding. It's it's an options position. But either way, we kind of saw that obviously they did have like 27% or so, or 20% or so of not treasuries, government bonds. All right, what else they got? The fund intends to invest substantially in purchased call SPY flex options that are deeply in the money. Okay, so they're starting in the money. S&P 500 is an index, a measure of large cap U.S. stocks. We know that. Distribution risk, whatever, and whatever, and whatever, and whatever, and whatever. Again, most of these prospectus, most of the pages just talk about risk, which is something they have to do because obviously all of these have risk and they need to explain that to you. Their sub-advisor, in case you are wondering, is Exchange Traded Concepts, LLC. The investment advisor is Roundhill. And then the portfolio managers, no, it's not Jay Pestricelli. It is Andrew Sarowick. It is Todd Alberico. It is Gabriel Tan and Brian Cooper. Each has served as portfolio manager since its inception, since October of 2024. Obviously, yeah, that's current. So, let's see. This additional information. Cool. Probably that's it though, guys. Because again, risk. By the way, since I'm scrolling through the risk, keep in mind none of this is financial advice. I definitely am not a financial advisor because I am not getting 0.49%. And this video is for fun and entertainment. So if you have questions about these funds, obviously reach out to Roundhill. But I'm just giving my opinion, which clearly is fun and entertainment. This talks about taxes, everyone's favorite topic. And that's it. That is the prospectus, okay? That's it. Again, I'm not going too deep today on this fund, on the prospectus, because, again, I don't want to bore you guys to death. But I did make a spreadsheet. Shocker, I know. I did make a fun spreadsheet to take a look at some numbers here. So now, first, let me zoom in, make this easy to look at. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to take a look at the SPY basically from the end of December to the next end of December and to see year over year, is the SPY going up enough that so that you can make or pay out a 20% distribution. So from 1993 to 1994, I'm showing the SPY went down 2.21%. So obviously with a payout of 20%, that would be a deficit of 22.21%, which sucks. Of course it does. But the next year, okay, look at that. I'm showing it did go up by 34.94%. So even after them paying out 20%, I'm showing you end up with a profit of 14.94%. So years like that, this works fantastic. And yes, by the way, guys, I understand they pay monthly. And I did not do this monthly. I just did this annually. So obviously, as they pay out monthly, the monthly capital gains needs to meet whatever they're paying, the percentage that they're paying out each month. Okay? So, and I'm not doing that. Maybe another day. But right now, I'm just keeping it simple and just doing the numbers on an annualized basis. All right? So anyway, let's look from 95 to 96. S&P went up 22%, so they can afford 20%. In fact, you have a profit of 2.35. And the next year, they made 29%, they made 27%, and then they made 19%. But then you have 3 down years, down 10, down 12, down 22. And look at the deficit. That's very damaging. So, overall, they say the stock market does average a return of 8%, I believe, since its inception. So, thinking of it that way, 20% is not, a manageable target that you're going to be able to keep all your capital. That's why they made the 4% rule, which I think is trash, to be honest. But they made the 4% rule. This is for people who plan to take and sell funds to live off of. Again, the point of this fund, I think, is for the retired person, right? So what they want to do is they want to serve those people, the people who don't want to worry about doing the options themselves, selling the stocks themselves. This is a fund for people who just want to get paid 20% on their money, and they also want to track, the S&P 500. That's it. And it's just, to be honest, it's pretty smart. to come out with this. It is. I don't think it's worthy of point. My only gripe on this is the expense ratio. I think they should lower the expense ratio. And if they did, this fund would probably do even better. But again, my issue is clearly on the expense. I mean, this is the laziest ETF I've seen since I've been covering ETFs by far. So it should get the laziest expense ratio. I mean, I'll do it for 0.29%. They want to hire me. I'll do it for 0.29%. I'll buy a call and then I'll go home for a year and I'll come back next year. All right. How's that sound? Anyway, let's continue. So I did go all the way down to 2023. Obviously, 2024, we're not completed yet, but it should be a good year overall. And then I did add some stuff to the right, some interesting stuff. So now I'm going to show what a $10,000 investment would look like, okay? So let's zoom out a little here. So what we have here, we have what your investment would look like with no drip, which means no dividend reinvestment, and then what your investment would look like with drip. So first in orange, again, that year where that first year it went down 22%, with a $10,000 investment, you would get a distribution realistically of around $2,000. Okay. So that money that comes from the fund. So obviously you take the 10,000, you subtract the 2,000. Okay. And then you subtract the loss, the deficit of 22%, which that comes to, hold on, 22%. H3, yeah. H3 times D3. I'm sorry, that's the deficit. Yeah, I knew I was using the wrong column. Sorry. So if you look at the gains column, the deficit is after the the 20% payout. So look at the gain. The gains column is what we need to key in here on. Let's highlight this so we know. What color? Purple. That doesn't come out the best, but anyway, so again, that first year, the market went down 2.21%. So you take your 10,000 investment, you take out the 2,000 that they paid you, and then you take out $221, which that was the capital loss. So your investment the next year would be down to $7,778, right? But if you look at the following year, the market went up 34%. So right there, they can afford to pay you the $2,000. However, you're not going to get paid $2,000. You're going to get paid 20%. 20% of $7,778 is $1,555. So obviously, the market's having a great year, but you're taking a pay cut because the prior years sucked and you lost a lot of capital. So this year, you'll get paid the $1,500. However, there's capital appreciation of $2,700. So now your return right now, or your portfolio balance will be at $8,900. And then the next year, the market did go up again, 22%. And then the market went up a bunch of times. So look at this in orange, right? Your actual portfolio is going up. You're up to $10,000. And you're getting paid $1,500 and then $1,700, $1,800, $1,900, $2,100, $2,100. All is well. It's working out fantastic. It is. However, we get to here, oh no, -10, -12, -22. We can't handle that, man. We can't handle it because the account went down, right? We were getting $2,100 a month. Again, column J. And then it went down to 7,300 balance. You get $1,400 a month. Then your balance dropped to $4,900, and then you get $984 a month. And then your balance dropped to $2,800, and then you get $563 a month. And then all the way down here, your balance is dropping to $1,600. Obviously, your balance is depleting because you can't stay afloat taking this as 100% cash, right? You kind of have to invest a portion of it. Again, the monthly distributions could be better, could be worse, right? The compounding effect could work out better. If you run the numbers, I don't know. You should try it. But again, just looking at this on an annualized basis, if you take the cash, it will eventually deplete. Okay, because they're not doing anything. They're not earning additional income. They're just tracking the S&P via buying a call. So if I'm looking at year 30, your capital could deplete to $177 without dividend reinvestment. And your distribution of 20% would now be $35. Okay? Annualized $35. So not something that's great for the long term. Short term, like if you're old fart and you got like 10 years to live, maybe, okay? Because let's look at year 10, how it worked out. Year 10, we go there. Okay, year 10, you have, well, actually, year 10 kind of sucks too. You're down to 2,800 with 563. It all depends on the timing of the market though, okay? Now, another way to look at this is I'm going to invest in this and I'm just going to put it on dividend reinvestment and not touch it. So if you did that, then after year one, you'd be at 11,778. Then you'd be at 16K, 19K, 20. Again, you're doing well because overall the market will go up. So if you put all that cash back into the fund after year 30, your portfolio balance will be 40,300. Okay. That's 4 times the amount of your original investment. So again, in 30 years, is that a good return? I don't think so. Some people may. But 30 years, I want much, much more than that. But again, if you just do drip, say for the first 5 years, and then, is this after 5? Yeah, after 5, you're at 24K. And then you set it and you take the cash. At least you're in a better position and your money will last a little longer, right? But to me, again, there's other funds that will work better for you, especially the Roundhill, XDTE, for example. I think it's a much better fund than this. Again, 0.5% more expense ratio. However, long term, I think you're better off. Again, just my opinion, guys. Do your own research. I'm just here for fun. All right, so what else? Well, one of the other benefits of this fund is it does pay return of capital. What's the beauty of return of capital? Well, technically, again, check with your tax advisor. But if it's return of capital, what I've noticed is you don't get taxed on it, right? So that's awesome. However, that just means you won't get taxed on it as long as you have a taxable cost basis. So right off the bat, your taxable cost basis, it starts at whatever the fund launches at, just say $20, right? If they pay you, 20% of $20, what's that, $4 or whatever? But if they pay you $4, just say that first year is $4, and that's return of capital, your taxable cost basis will drop to $16. And if they pay you $4 the next year, your taxable cost basis goes down to 12, and so on and so forth. So when your taxable cost basis goes to 0, it doesn't matter if they pay return of capital, you're not gonna be tax-free on this crap. You're going to have to pay taxes from there on out. So the return of capital percent, what I did to the right is to show how much of the distribution would be return of capital. This is an ongoing total. So the first year, like I said, 20% they'll pay out. And then they have paid out 35%, 53%. So by year 6, they would have paid out over 100% return of capital. And obviously, once you hit 100%, then that little, that benefit to you is not a benefit anymore because your taxable cost basis is over, right? And then keep in mind, guys, if you do sell the fund, you have to pay taxes on those gains anyway. So damned if you do, damned if you don't. I mean, I think return of capital is an awesome strategy when you're planning on holding the fund because then you don't have to worry about selling it and paying the taxes later. Again, but if return of capital does come to an end at some point, which again, in this example, it's 6 years, then okay, that's great for 6 years. And after that, okay, it's just another shitty taxable fund, right? But again, this is the numbers I ran. Let me know what you guys think if you ran different numbers. But my immediate thought of this fund, number one, the expense ratio is too high. Number two, it's the laziest ETF I think I've ever seen. And number three, I do think it is geared towards the investor that doesn't want to do anything. And again, I think I think it's smart of them to come out with this, right? Because it's as simple as you can get. So for the simple investor who doesn't want to learn, who doesn't want to do anything, this is probably custom made for them. So me personally, I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole, but I did want to cover it for you guys and give my thoughts in case anyone gave a crap. So, there it is. There's my opinion, but I'm curious to hear what everyone else's opinion. I am honestly very, very curious to hear whatever anyone else's opinion on it. I mean, outside of, again, someone who's just retiring, they want something simple, which I think it's custom made for them. Who else would buy this? Like, why would you buy this fund? Can you explain that to me? I don't know. But yeah, so that's it, man. That's my opinion on the new Roundhill fund, which is called XPAY. Let me know your thoughts down below. Is this a great fund? Is this a crappy fund? Do you agree with me that the expense ratio is not warranted and they should lower it? If they made it like very, much cheaper, if they cut it and maybe if they made it like 0.2%, fine. I could live with that, okay? But and again, what do I know? There may be other fees that they incur that maybe 0.49% is warranted, but judging by how active the other funds, earning 0.99%, they have daily trades, much more work than this, a buy call once a freaking year, right? So I don't see it, man. I don't see it. All right. As always, as mentioned, this is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. This video is for fun and entertainment. So hopefully you had fun. Hopefully you were entertained. If not, we will try again. I don't know, next time. If there's another fund that you want me to cover in a similar fashion, please let me know that fund down below and I will look into it. All right. That's all I got for today. I just wanted to say, guys, thank you for watching and enjoy the rest of your day. Later.